Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Graham Holt from Ditan Group. So Ditan Group's a software development services company. So we don't have our own products, but we tend to develop products for other companies, and we help with consulting services and product development. So what we wanted to do today was really more of a technology demonstration to show some of the work that we've been doing with WebRTC and really leveraging our background in the telecom and communication space. So we've set up a little demo that is showing WebRTC working, running over an IMS core to demonstrate how WebRTC might work in a real-world situation when it needs to integrate with the rest of the world. So the domain that we tend to work in is mostly in communication space. So we've been developing telecom solutions for about the last 30 years and going right through the whole evolution. So before SS7 existed, then we went through SS7, we went through voice over IP, all the cloud development, cloud communications, and now we're actively working in WebRTC. So for us, WebRTC has been very interesting because it's something we've been getting a lot more interest in the past, I would say the past 6 months, it's really got very hot with video conferencing companies, call centers, contact centers, UC developers, all wanting to add WebRTC into their existing infrastructures. So what we'll be showing is really what happens behind the scenes when you want to try and make that happen. So I think the reality of WebRTC today, I think, is the web part of the development is reasonably easy. So you can really make those API calls using some JavaScript and very quickly get an application up and running. Where it gets a bit more complex is making sure that it talks to the rest of the world. So we're going to be showing this demo on WebRTC and IMS and hopefully answering a question of why we think that's important. So I want to start with a little bit of audience participation. How many people here, this is the easy question. So how many people have got a cell phone? Okay, that's everybody. I'm assuming the people that aren't raising their hands are just not listening. But, so I think everybody has a cell phone. How many people still have a landline at home? Okay, and how many people are using Skype? Okay. So this is really just showing a bit about the evolution of telephony and communication. Pretty much today, everybody has a cell phone. So there's 6 billion cell phones in the world and about 7 billion people. And why that's important is we all know when we pick up our cell phone or our landline, we all know how to contact someone. Okay, we can call that number and it's probably going to connect. So there's a universal addressing system in place. And over the years, we've figured out how to make all these different systems work together. But that's not a trivial thing to happen. So there's a lot of hard work that happens in the background that really helps that to happen. Now, I'm going back to the Skype question. So a lot of people are using Skype. How many people use Skype for business purposes? Okay, and how many people use it for calls with 10 or more people involved? Okay, and how many people use it when they need to do their quarterly conference calls to do the earnings report with 3,000 participants?
No hands.
Okay. So there's a need for, even though all these great over-the-top technologies exist, there's a real need to integrate with existing infrastructure that can really do that scalability that we've got used to in telecom and the reliability part. So I think if you look at this evolution, we're right at the starting point with WebRTC. I think it represents another great technology. It's going to be another great client technology that can be used to build endpoints, but it's got to integrate with all the other technologies that already exist. So what we did was really put together some information. So we've built a reference model that represents really interoperability between a WebRTC client and the rest of the world. We've got a white paper on the website, and we've got a demo that we're opening to the public for everybody to go there and play with. So cutting this down to the basics, on the left-hand side, there, you've got the WebRTC client. And what we've done for these purposes is we've included there a SIP client as well. Okay, so our WebRTC client here is talking SIP, so it can integrate with, it can talk with the rest of the world. What needs to happen then is you need to go through a SIP gateway because WebRTC is going to transport that over WebSockets on the network side, and it needs to get converted to UDP. And the SIP needs a little bit of translation just to make sure it works with other SIPs. Okay, standards are standards, but they're not all the same. On the media path side, that's a little bit more tricky. So as well as different network protocols, we need to deal with transcoding, particularly on the video side, which that can tend to be a bit heavy. So you need to put a lot of thought into how you're going to handle that and do the transcoding. But basically, that's more or less what you're going to need to do if you want to make a WebRTC client talk to a video conferencing system, for instance. And I think a lot of the vendors outside here, they've already started building this sort of technology, putting it into their SBCs, putting it into media gateways, and various other places in the network to really make that work. Being from the telecom and communications side, though, we wanted to see what this looked like for telecom vendors. So we put that on top of an IMS core. So we used a project called Clearwater, which is an open source IMS core. Basically, we're just running this in Amazon and then running our WebRTC client on top of that. And just to cut it down to very basics, I think if you don't know about IMS, you probably don't need to know. But what is important here is the Homestead piece at the top, the HSS part. That's where we're storing the identity, and that's a global identity of any device that this user owns. Okay, so if you've got a mobile phone, a landline, or a WebRTC client, they're all going to have the same identity. And then the other part, which is the WebRTC specific, is the Bono down at the left-hand side. And there we're really doing the SIP signaling, taking that in over WebSockets and converting that into standard SIP that's running through the IMS core. So this is just one reference model, but I think in general, if you're going to make WebRTC into work with other things, you need to put some sort of scalable, reliable infrastructure in place to do that. IMS is one option that the telecom vendors are going to be using, so they'll be integrating WebRTC there. For other people, you'll be building your own infrastructures based on cloud technologies. And I think to answer the question, why did we do this? We believe that you need to be able to pick up the phone and talk to anybody in the world, or pick up your WebRTC client and talk to anyone in the world. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the demo. And as I mentioned, this is a technology demo, so we didn't spend a lot of time making the interface pretty. But we're just showing the basics, the most useful features of WebRTC, which is the video, audio sharing, the chat type features you can do over data channels, and also the screen sharing. So Marcio, he has created a chat room for me to enter, which is 37. And so I just go into the same room. And in the demo, the reason we're doing this is we basically, as I logged in, it registered me with the HSS. So I did a SIP register, and now we've both entered the room, and both our identities are there. We could have also just called each other directly if we'd have implemented a dialer. So here's Marcio, is just doing a simple chat. So this is using the data channels just to show that we can get some data going over that chat. And he's also called me there. So this is all stuff you've seen before. Basically, this is just peer-to-peer WebRTC. We're not doing any transcoding in this particular demo. This is just straight VP8. And then the screen sharing. So Marcio's just shared his screen. This is something I think we haven't seen in many of the other demos today. But if you do access the demo and you want to try this feature, you do need to go into Chrome and set some flags. Okay, so if you go Chrome/flags, scroll down to the bottom, there's an option there to enable the screen capture. So you need to do that for that particular feature to work. So to finish, I think I'd invite you to come and visit us at the booth. We've also created this white paper that talks about some of the concepts we've talked about today, and you can register to try out the demo. Okay, so thank you very much.